Let's make a frame bag. Yay. Look how beautiful. Yay. Let's make it. Hooray. First, you're going to cut a paper triangle that fits into the triangle of your bike. And you're going to use a ruler to square the edges. You're also going to label it top, forward, and back so you don't forget which is which. Then you're going to add a 1/2 inch of seam allowance on every side. And canned goods make great fabric weights, in my opinion. And then you're going to cut out this triangle, and this is going to be your base pattern for your frame bag. Now you want another one exactly like it, so you're going to duplicate it, and you're going to label both of them, top, back, and front, and put your seam allowance. And one of these you're going to write non-zipper side, and one of these you're going to write zipper side, and you want them to be opposite each other because they're going to be opposite sides of the frame bag. So you want them to be opposite each other. Now you're going to measure a few inches down on the zipper side and cut that using your ruler so it's nice and straight. And then you're going to measure all 4 sides of the non-zipper side, add that up, add 2 inches, and write that on there by 3.5 inches because that's going to be your outside strip. Then you're going to cut the triangle, the non-zipper side. I'm using 1000 denier cordura here because I like it. I'm going to make this little like mountain scene, but you can just cut a triangle of one color if you want, if you don't want to do this, but I'm gonna make this little collage here. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just like having a good time here, you know. Oh, you also want to cut out fabric for your zipper side. So you want to do a piece of the facing, a piece of the lining for the top and the bottom. Facing means like the main fabric, like the cordura, and you also want to cut a piece of lining for your non-zipper side. And for lining, I'm just using some nylon ripstop. You know, go with vibes, whatever you like. You don't have to use cordura. You can use whatever you want. I really like cordura. It reminds me of the early 2000s and like all the messenger bags people used back then. It comes in a lot of really great colors. So here I am just sewing the little scene on the non-zipper side. I like to think this is a moonrise. Maybe it looks like a sunrise, but I like to think it's a moonrise. Then you cut out your outside strip. Mine was 64 inches by 3.5 inches. Yours is whatever by 3.5 inches. You sew the lining to the back of that because you've also cut out the lining just using a base stitch. This is just to hold it together. And then you also basted the lining for the non-zipper side onto the back of that so it's easier to work with. Then you cut a piece of zipper the length of the bottom of the top piece of your zipper side here out of zipper tape. You're going to put your zipper pull. This is just me flexing on you right here. Like, are you impressed that I can do this with my hands? Now I'm cutting a zipper tab for either end of the zipper. It's 5 inches and the length of, or the width of the zipper. And you just want to fold that in half, wrong sides together, and sew it on to the end of your zipper, like maybe 1/2 inch onto the zipper with the raw edges facing away, if that makes sense. And then you fold the zipper in half and cut a little notch, tiny notch in the middle. You're going to line up the middle of your zipper with the top part of your zipper side, right side's facing the zipper, and the lining on the other side, right side of the lining facing the zipper, and the cordura, the right side is facing the top of the zipper, and the lining at the right side is facing the bottom of the zipper. And you want to match the notches in the middle because you cut notches in those other pieces too. I forgot to tell you, but you did. And you want to line that up real good. Now you're going to use your zipper foot. This is not a zipper foot, but it works. I don't know what it is. You're going to sew as close to the zipper as possible using a small stitch. Oh, for basting, you can use a larger stitch, but this, you want a small stitch. And just take your time, make sure everything stays lined up. I love zippers because they're like really high work to reward ratio. Like, I don't think you have to work that hard, but then when you're done, it looks like really professional. Even though they're secretly not that hard. Like, people are like, oh wow, zippers seem hard, but it's actually the easiest. You'll see what's hard later. It's coming, but it's not this. And then you fold that out like a taco, and you pull those tight while you top stitch, again, close to the edge of this green cordura. You just want to keep pulling it taut as you go so there's no bunchy parts. And if you get close to the zipper pull, you can just move it. And look at that. Does not look nice. Now you're going to take the other triangles for the zipper side and sandwich them, the right side of the triangle to the top of the zipper and the right side of the liner to the top of the zipper, and make sure it's lined up like the top, you know, it's like the top of the triangle, not the side of the triangle. Anyway, you know what I mean? And you put some clips or pins there to make sure that's all lined up. Oh, you line up the notches in the middle, the notches that I didn't tell you that you put in the triangles in the middle of each side of the triangle, you put a notch. And then you sew as close to the zipper as you can using your zipper foot. And if you, run into the zipper pull, just lift up the foot, keep the needle in, move the zipper pull, put the foot back down, keep going until you get to the end. And it's going to look real nice. You're going to be so proud of this. You're going to be so frustrated later when the hard part comes. And then you fold that inside out like a taco and top stitch close to the edge of the purple cordura. And, you can use a contrasting thread here. I'm using purple thread, so you can't see it on the purple, but you can see it on the green. But if you use a contrasting thread with top stitching, that can look pretty nice, I feel like, because top stitching just looks nice. And you just want to pull it taut as you go so it's not bunchy. Move the zipper if you get too close to the zipper. And then look, and then you trim the ends of the zipper tabs so that they line up with the triangle. Look at this. Doesn't it look nice? It wasn't even that hard. Look at that lining. You're going to base stitch around the edge. This is just sticking close to the edge with a wide stitch. It's just to hold it together so it's easier to work with. It's not structural. Later when you're all done, if it's visible, you can pull it out. Just to hold the pieces together. And it's not going to be perfect. Like you can see, this isn't like really lined up here at the end. I'm just like doing my best, but the seam allowance will cover that up. Not even going to be able to tell. Who's going to know? How are they going to know? How are they going to know? Then you're going to cut a strip of webbing slightly longer than your outside strip and pin that, center it and pin it. And you're going to do what are called bar tacks, a few inches, separated by a few inches all the way down the length of this. And this is going to create the attachment points where you're going to attach it to your bike. I like to go 4 times, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to take a while, but when you're done, trim the ends off. And now you are ready to attach it to your non-zipper side. Are you so excited? This is where things get good, and they're not hard yet, but they will be hard soon. So you want to leave a little bit of the edge piece hanging over because we made it 2 inches too long, remember, so we wouldn't run out. Just going to sew with your 1/2 inch seam allowance, so a 1/2 inch in with a small stitch, and then you're going to get to the corner and you're going to realize that you should have rounded these corners because it's going to turn out that triangle corners are a freaking nightmare and you hate this so much and you're going to get so frustrated, but just kind of mash things together and eventually you'll make it through. And next time you can round your corners and not make them so pointy, because what are you going to put in the point anyway? Like a wedge of cheese in your frame bag? I guess you could put a wedge of cheese in there. I mean, that would work, but otherwise nothing's going to fit in that corner. You don't need a pointy corner. Round it next time. It'll be so much easier to sew. You won't be struggling. But all that matters is that it's attached. And when you turn it inside out, like, no one's going to see your struggle. Like, you're not going to be able to see the struggle. It's going to look so nice. It's going to be like a beautiful corner. People are going to be like, what struggle? I don't see any struggle. Like, it's going to look so nice. Look at that. Look at that corner. Amazing. What struggle? Now you are going to, you put a notch in each side of your zipper triangle, and you put a notch in each side of the edge of your outside piece after sewing it to the first piece, and you're going to line up those notches. And this is so that the outside piece lines up to the second triangle the same way it did the first triangle. And you're going to start sewing at the same spot on the zipper side where the non-zipper side touches the outside piece, if that makes sense. You're just going to line things up. You're going to put a little pin in there, and then when you get to the other side, you're going to pin it. You're going to go all the way around, struggle through the corners, same thing, and then you're going to pin the 2 little sticky outy pieces of the outside piece together and sew them to the corners, squishing the points of the corners in there so that they become corners, and then you're going to finish the corners. It's annoying, but you're going to mash and sew and attach it. When you're going to turn it inside, it's going to look great. Now, this is 1 inch gross grain ribbon we're going to use to cover up the inside seams, and this is actually pretty hard. Maybe some people have an easier time with this, but you're going to put a lot of clips in. The more clips the better, and then you're just going to start going, and you can kind of push it towards the seam with your finger while you go so that it stays on, but there's going to be parts where it doesn't stay on, where you're going to have to go back over it. You kind of thought you got it on, but you didn't. The corners are a raging pain, but you're just going to mash. All that matters is attachment. It's going to look great. No one's looking. No one's looking. And then look, it's beautiful. Look at that side. Now you're going to do the other side. And then you're going to turn it inside out. Look at this beautiful bag you made. Wow, look at that lining. It's incredible. To attach it to your bike, you're going to use some Velcro tape and some shot cord and this cord lock and attach it however you like. This is how I like to do it. You can cut the Velcro tape, make it thinner. Look at this beautiful bag. Wow, it's amazing. You made that. Now go for a ride.